Albany, Georgia invites you to explore a living legacy where Black history and culture shape memorable moments. Through voices, courage, and impact, we honor the people whose lives and leadership continue to move this city forward. As mayor, Bo Dorough is dedicated to supporting Albany's growth as a destination, strengthening the experiences that draw visitors here and move the city forward.
Why do you think it's important that Albany civil rights stories continue to be shared today?
Albany, Georgia was the epicenter of the national civil rights movement in late 1961 and through much of 1962. We as a community need to understand and appreciate and celebrate that rich history.
When you think about Albany during the civil rights era, what stands out to you the most about how this community showed strength?
Well, the strength obviously is in the unique individuals who stood up and formed the Albany movement. Those citizens who, having endured the burden of segregation for their entire lives, finally said, we are going to stand up and shout to the roof that this is unjust and something has to change. We have a city where hundreds of our citizens voluntarily marched knowing that the destination was the city jail. The courage, the fortitude of these individuals has to be celebrated. But there again, on a deeper level, why did it happen in Albany? This is a city that was rapidly expanding economic development throughout the 40s and 50s. Albany's population almost trebled from 19,000 to over 55,000 between 1940 and 1960. Much of that prosperity was due to the military installations that were here, Turner Air Force Base, Marine Corps Logistics Base. What we don't realize is in the mid-50s, because of federal regulations, the bases, which are 5 and 10 miles from the city limits, were fully integrated. The students, the community, had to be influenced by what was going on in the country. The sit-ins, the freedom rides. In point of fact, the ICC regulation, which prohibited segregation in facilities where there was interstate commerce, took effect on November 1st, 1961. And that is when the first attempt was made to integrate the restaurant at the bus station. And that's not the city bus station. We have to remember that that is the Trailway station where people were coming in interstate travel. And of course, the arrest which ensued of the 5 high school students and then the 2 ASU students, which actually led to the first mass meetings. And those arrests were followed the following Monday by a huge demonstration when hundreds of citizens came out, knowing that these youths were going to be tried for violating a city ordinance, which the city ordinance was itself a violation of a federal regulation. And just the fact that these mothers, these youth, these grandmothers would come out and weather the rain and march, it has got to move anyone. And that is really, I think, the essence of the Albany movement at its inception, rather than the developments which happened later.
What do you believe makes Albany's civil rights story meaningful to people who hear it for the first time?
Well, obviously the sacrifice of those individuals, but again, that is not the story most people hear. Most people hear Dr. King came on December 15th, 1961, and there was a march and arrest the following day. And then what happened in July and August. But what people need to understand is the unique characters who lived here in Albany, Georgia, who are instrumental in the formation of the Albany movement. These are Albanians, and some of those names are largely forgotten to history, which is unfortunate. But what hopefully individuals who come to Albany to learn more about the Albany movement will find out that there were four major developments in Albany that changed the trajectory of the civil rights movement. And that is, here is the first time that you have broad participation. In the years before, the main people who were the foot soldiers of the civil rights movement were students. And you had the broad participation. You had the influence of song, what we all associate spirituals with the civil rights movement. But it was here in Albany that the civil rights movement transforms from a secular movement to a spiritual movement that will basically drive the civil rights movement throughout the 1960s. Andrew Young talks about, we didn't know how to organize people until we got to Albany, in the SCLC. Dr. King says, we learned in Albany that you need to have clear objectives. Of course, the Albany movement, as we discussed earlier, demanded almost a complete destruction of the Jim Crow South. The broad, ambitious, bold demands of the African American community are to be celebrated, but are almost astonishing when you think that they were living in a segregated society.
How does that history continue to shape how people see Albany today?
Most Albanians know that there was an Albany Civil Rights Movement. So within less than 3 years, the objectives of those courageous Albanians who joined together to form the Albany movement were realized. I don't think most of us realize that Albany is on the United States Civil Rights Trail. Here in Albany, we have the Civil Rights Institute, which I think I have advocated and believe in the next few years the city is going to make a substantial investment in the Civil Rights Institute.
When visitors come to Albany, what do you hope they feel as they experience the city?
Well, hopefully, just like if someone comes to your home, I felt welcome. This was time well spent. But more than that, hopefully, visitors will leave our city finding their trip here to be a rewarding experience, enjoyable experience, and worthwhile.
These stories are the heartbeat of Albany, past, present, and future. Come experience the legacy, the culture, and the movement for yourself. Visit Albany, Georgia at visitalbanyga.com. Feel the movement.